So why is it important to have a framework in place to solve problems in your marriage? Most of the time when problems come up in your marriage, they only come up during a fight. And when you're fighting, you are not in problem solving mode, you just want to win this argument. It makes a lot more sense that you sit down after the fact and when you're in good spirits, and then you talk about how you can solve these problems. One example of a fight that I had countless times with my wife is I'm sitting at home, I'm still in work mode, I still think about work, I'm on my phone responding to an email, and it's the thing that annoys my wife the most about me, that I'm still in work mode. I'm sitting at home on the couch, I should be present with her and my daughter, but I'm still thinking about the stuff that's going on at work. And when my wife critiques me that I'm on the phone again, it can escalate into a fight because I'm emotionally attached to what I'm doing right now. I'm responding to an important email, and I think she's insensitive for interrupting me with this important thing that I'm doing right now, even though I should be at home spending time with my family. So if you want to solve this problem for good, if you want to find workarounds and crutches and ways that you can make sure that this will never come up again, sit down with your spouse and brainstorm about it when you have distance from this problem, when this is not really present in your mind. And you'll come up with really cool ideas on how to make it actually easier for you. In my case, with always being on the phone at home, we came up with the idea that I put my phone on a charger, I put it in silent mode, and the people that have to reach me have my home phone number, and they can call me in case something drastic happens. And this made it much easier for me to not be tempted to always go, let's see what's going on at work. Nobody's perfect, and no marriage is perfect. And fights are totally normal. But the way how you deal with these fights and how you improve upon the problems that you have in your marriage, this will determine how happy you are in the long run. With winning the war and not the battle, I mean that when you're in a fight with your spouse, you often just care about getting out of this argument that you're having right now versus thinking about how you can make sure that these things can never come up in the future. So what happens if you don't adopt a problem-solving framework and get rid of the problems that you have in your marriage? You deal with stupid stuff over and over again, even though you could have a way more pleasant life. Preparing for the time when you sit down and you want to solve an issue that's recurring or the fight that you just had, it's important that you're in the right state of mind. So ideally, don't do it after a long day at the office when you're completely tired. Do it after you went on a walk with your spouse, or you worked out together, or you just did something fun together, maybe after a brunch or so. Then you'll be in the right mindset to come up with the right solutions, and it will not end in just another fight. Also make sure that you give your spouse a heads up that you want to talk about problem XYZ, so your spouse can prepare for it, can come up with ideas, can come up with solutions, and that your spouse is not just surprised by this. You'll have a much better result if you handle it that way. So when an argument gets really heated between you and your spouse, there's a few things you can do to diffuse this and to come to a proper solution. One thing is to think about, what would you do at work? How would you solve this problem at work? Taking one step back and thinking, how do I treat somebody that I have an argument at work? And how do I get to a proper solution with him? It's pretty crazy how bad we treat the people that are most important in our lives. You'd probably never yell at somebody at work. That's totally unacceptable. And why do you do it at home? It's a little confusing. Remember that you're on the same side. You both have a common goal, and these things all can be worked out. One little tip is you can change the state. Let's say, you get into this heated argument, that you just either get up and go for a walk, or just change the scenery or so. This is also very, very helpful. How would you solve a problem with your customer? Let's say you have an argument with your customer. How would this discussion look? Would you yell at him? Would you be unreasonable? Most likely not, because you have a common goal that you want to solve this so you can conduct business further. And it's the same thing in your marriage. I told a friend, a former employee, about the book that I'm writing and the course that I'm doing, and that the concept is to apply business principles to your normal life. He said that this actually works really amazing. It worked amazing for him when he got a divorce. He found out that his wife was cheating on him. And he played out two scenarios in his mind. Number one, he physically throws his wife out of the house, goes to the other guy's apartment, and beats the crap out of him, calls an ambulance for him and calls the cops for him, so he gets arrested. So nobody really wins in this scenario. But what he did, he actually thought, I'll treat this like a work case. Data center down, we have to restore service. How do we get out of this? And he packed a bag for 2 weeks of clothing of his wife, walked downstairs, said, here's your stuff, please leave the house for 2 weeks, then you can come back and get more stuff. In the divorce process, when it was about how to split up their belongings, basically who gets the house and who gets how much money, he overpaid by 20% or so, and all his friends said, dude, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? She cheated. Like, why are you doing this? And he said, because I just want to get this done. I want to get it out of the way. I want to get it out of my life so I can move on, versus like being stuck in a crazy divorce war that lasts forever. So it's really, really powerful when you have a problem-solving mindset in any argument that you have with your spouse, with a business partner, with a client, or whatever it is. When I talk to entrepreneurs about this concept and when I want to get feedback, my buddy John Rampton told me a cool story on how he handles problems with his wife. So every time they have a problem, they eliminate this problem. They beat it to death. They make sure it never occurs again. The same thing in business. When your software has a bug, you don't fix it just with duct tape. You make sure it doesn't come up again. You make sure you fix it. You do whatever it takes to eliminate this problem. Dealing with the same problem twice is stupid in a business sense, and it's also stupid in a family sense. If you want to make sure that you actually squash this bug, this problem that is recurring in your marriage, you have to focus on only one problem at a time. It's too big of an ask to ask your spouse to stop 5 behaviors that you don't like about them at the same time. So just focus on one. Focusing on something is very, very powerful. An analogy would be a magnifying glass that you hold. If you hold it still, you can actually burn a hole into a table. And if you move it around, it won't even warm up the surface. So focus on one problem at a time and you'll be able to squash it.